I'm Siobhan, and something you may not know about me is that in my free time, I run a YouTube channel creating video essays about the Real Housewives. This forces me to spend a lot of my time thinking about the show and perusing their fans' version of the internet. And something I've noticed lately is that the fans are not happy. And I think they've got a good reason, as a lot of the shows are on life support. Take Jersey, for instance. The series ended its 14th season unceremoniously without a reunion, and updates on year number 15 have been sparse and filled with rumors. So nobody seems to know what's truly going to happen to the show. But the last time the show went without a reunion, it was Bad News Bears. And that reboot has essentially flopped. Fans are not really that positive on it. But that's a video in and of itself, so subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you want expanded thoughts on this. Potomac is also kind of in limbo, as one of its mainstays, Karen Huger, just went to jail for a year, so we'll see what happens with that. It seems as if the show is going to go on without her, but at what cost? Beverly Hills is just so-so. I think people are always going to watch it, but I've seen a lot less chatter about it lately, as it's kind of boring. It's unclear the status of Atlanta, as it's lost its star in Kenya, and this rebooted version seems to be relying on Shamia, so we'll see how that goes. I'm keeping it open-minded, but Dubai is canceled, I think.
Fired!
We haven't heard a rip about Dallas in years.
Fired!
The only thriving franchises are Salt Lake City, Orange County, and Miami, but are 3 enough? And as a super fan, I hate to say it, but it's starting to seem like some of the shows could have run their course. With some of these shows being on the air for over 15 years, it's natural that they're going to start to feel a little bit stale. There's only so many stories you can tell. And we've seen time and time again that adding in newbies who have idolized or studied the vets for years can make for a really awkward dynamic. But me personally, I studied at Bethany Frankel University, so I tend to be solution-oriented. So allow me to propose the idea that in order to extend the Real Housewife lifespan, we need to create new series. So let's explore some potential cities. Wait, but hold on. I wanted to tell you about something really exciting that happened to me, which is that I got my first ever sponsor. Move over, Sida Silva. Okay, but yeah, I want to give a huge thank you to my first ever sponsor, which is Surfshark. I've legit used Surfshark for years, so a huge thank you to them. Alright, but here's where you come in. So we're about to enter into one of the dreaded housewives slumps where very few shows are airing, and although you could use this time to go back and just watch the Dinner Party from Hell on repeat, as I have been known to do, you could also use this time to dive into the international Real Housewives franchises. If you didn't know, there's over 20 different franchises from other countries that's basically the same exact show, just based in other countries. And some of them have seasons numbering in the teens, so you will legit never run out of content to watch. But if you're an American like me, you're gonna run into an issue, which is access. See, all of these franchises are kept on this amazing streaming service called HeyU, which is literally the streaming service of my dreams, but for some terrible reason, it's geo-blocked for Americans. But the rules will not apply to you if you have Surfshark. So Surfshark is a VPN, which means that it's a browser extension or an app that allows you to change what country your computer is in. So you don't actually have to go to the country, I checked, but it makes it look like your computer is in the country that you asked Surfshark to put you in. So I know none of us are like tech geeks or whatever, so to put it in housewives terms, think of it kind of like Dorit's accent. She might be an American.
You're an American. What are you talking about? You're born in Connecticut.
But her accent is British. I'm the same exact way. I'm American, but my computer is in the UK. Much like Dorit, you can be from any country you want to be, as they have over 3,200 different servers in over 100 countries. You can make your computer feel like a real housewife by visiting some of their favorite locations, like Amsterdam.
Base? Yeah. How dare you?
London, Mexico again, or New York City. One location I noted that they don't have is Scary Island, namely as it doesn't exist. But if you're dealing with a Bensonian bout of paranoia,
I threw up the night before I came, thinking that Bethany was gonna freaking kill me. Because she's tried to kill me so many times before.
When has she tried to kill you?
or if you're concerned about the very real fear of data breaches, or if you often use your computer in public places, Surfshark can bring you peace of mind that your data service is secure.
I just didn't know why you think I'm so insecure. You said it. I didn't say it.
That's because Surfshark encrypts your data, meaning it kind of scrambles it so nobody can tell whose info it is. So kind of like turning potential evil spies into Sonia on a cash trip. They'll have no idea what's going on. If, like me, you secretly watch shows that are not Housewives, you can also use Surfshark to change your location on websites such as Netflix or YouTube. I'm a little bit weird, so one thing that I do for fun is change my location on Netflix and see what options other countries have. So expand your horizons and get Surfshark today. But I wanted to let you know that they're only gonna know that you're beautiful and smart if you use my personal link, which is surfshark.com/superfish. I'll link it below and in the comments. I have a link, isn't that cool? And not only do I have a link, but I also have a deal for you. And it's an amazing offer, which is 4 months extra for free. And I'm not just saying this, I genuinely have used Surfshark for years. I, for some reason, watch Housewives on Hayu instead of on Peacock. I don't really know why. I'm a weirdo. So yeah, thank you again to Surfshark for sponsoring the video. I really appreciate it. But before we can brainstorm some options for new cities, I think it would be helpful if we first classify where the existing franchises fall. So first we have what I'm calling the obvious cities. This includes New York, duh, Los Angeles, aka Beverly Hills in Real Housewives term. Then I'm also going to include Atlanta, Miami, and rest in peace, Dallas and DC. These cities I think were picked because they have large populations and some sense of glamour. They're the kind of cities where it was just a matter of time before they got their own franchise. I think these are cities that viewers are also already familiar with and probably knew kind of what to expect when the city was announced. I think they might also be recognizable to people living outside of the United States, so if that's you, I'd love to hear if you knew of all of these cities and kind of what their identity was before they got their own housewife show. Next, we have the cities that were having a major moment in pop culture. This includes OC, which of course was the first city, and was pitched at a time when Southern California was super hot in the pop cultural zeitgeist, with shows like The OC, Laguna Beach, and Arrested Development taking place in the area, and with fashion brands like Hollister and PacSun creating the coveted surfer girl and boy look that a lot of teens at the time were trying to emulate. The other, of course, is New Jersey, which was majorly hot there for a minute, mostly due to the popularity of Jersey Shore. Though maybe that was influenced by The Sopranos and Goodfellas and all of that. I just remember one Halloween being totally gobsmacked by the sheer number of Snookies running around. The vibes were super culturally relevant when both of those franchises popped up, so it's not surprising that Bravo would try to explore that area in their own way. Next, we have cities with a unique angle. This, most notably to me, is Salt Lake City, as the show leans heavily into the religious element of the city and regularly showcases those Utah touchstones such as the soda obsession. They also lean in stylistically by scoring it with like a Mormon tabernacle choir type of situation, and the ladies are always doing winter sports and all of that. Another city that falls into this in my eyes is Dubai. So obviously the show is canceled for now.
Jill Zarin fired!
But when it was on, we got a lot of those Arabic, Middle Eastern type of touchstones with the scoring, and we would constantly see camels and rolling hills and dunes and all of that in the B-roll. They also really leaned into the expat element that Dubai is known for, with most of the cast being women who were not Emirati themselves. And of course, they made a point to show off how hot it was at all times, and they would showcase the gold-plated opulence of Dubai. And our last category is cities that were shoehorned in as Bravo found a really, really great cast of women, which is obviously where Potomac lands. There is also a little asterisk here, as Potomac is really just Metro DC, but whatever. And just in case you didn't know this, the show wasn't originally supposed to be a Real Housewife franchise. I read different original backgrounds for this show. One that it was originally supposed to be focused on the Jack and Jill organization, and another that it was just more generally focused on breaking out into Potomac society. But either way, that's why we have this weird kind of May-December cast with Ashley and Katie being so young. Ashley was one of the very few women who joined in their 20s, on the same cast with Charisse and Karen, who were significantly older. It's also why there's such a heavy emphasis on etiquette in that first season. But the cast was just so dynamic that Bravo was able to repackage it into a Real Housewives show, and obviously it's been a successful franchise going into its 10th season at this point. So now that we've created some categories with which Bravo explores new cities, let's think of what those cities could actually be. Starting with our obvious cities, I think the big one we're missing here is Chicago. Obviously, it's a massive city with a long American history. It's often mentioned as the number 3 city behind New York and LA, so it definitely feels left out of the Housewives discussion. When Tinsley Mortimer moved to Chicago midway through season 12 of Roni, I saw a lot of hopes that she'd lead a new franchise there, but it never seemed to be a serious conversation. Here's where I really want to hear from you if you've got good insight, because I've literally never been to Chicago and don't really know anyone from there. So I'm a little dark on why this is. I know there's a lot of wealth there, so I don't think that's the issue. But it seems like the gen consent is that Midwestern culture doesn't really gel with Housewives culture. That people are really nice and drama averse to the point of passive aggression over aggression. But I don't know, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I love petty, passive-aggressive type of conflicts on Housewives.
I'm sorry, but that girl Sarah broke the bow off my cake and ate it. Are you kidding me?
So if anything, it's a boon to me. Plus, I really doubt that 5 to 7 women with cameras in their faces are going to play nice. Like, there are absolutely women in Chicago who would be great on Housewives. I'm sure of it. But the thing that trips me up a little bit is that I don't get the angle of Chicago, but maybe it's just because I'm really not that familiar with the city. Like, I'm not really sure what makes it unique compared to other cities. I've heard the architecture is really beautiful, and I know that they've got their own spin on a lot of food, but obviously they're not going to differentiate Chicago from other cities based on their pizza styling. But again, I'm really unfamiliar with Chicago, so I'd love to hear from people who are a little more in the know. How could a Chicago franchise happen? Like, what would they hold in their intro? What types of women may you attract? What would the scoring be like? Give me your vision. Yeah, but the next big obvious city is Boston, which I have a lot of ideas for. This is a city I'd be really keen for them to do because I think they've got a few different angles that they could explore. The first is most relevant if Jersey does indeed get canceled, which is making it the new family-focused immigrant type of franchise, but instead of focusing on Italian Americans like Jersey does, focus on Irish Americans. There's a large Irish population in Boston, and as an Irish American myself, I see strong similarities between Italian Americans and Irish Americans. My mom was actually born in Ireland and grew up in a big Irish community in Toronto, so I have some sense of what a show based on this culture could look like. And while Toronto and Boston are different and I didn't grow up in this culture, I did grow up hearing all about the intense loyalty and dramatic fallouts between family members, just like we've seen with the Gorgas and the Manzos on Real Housewives of New Jersey. And Irish American families tend to have that same passion and drama, so a Real Housewives of Boston could bring fresh energy to the franchise while still hitting that family dynamic spot that Jersey has nailed. Plus, I don't think Irish culture is really represented much in the media, so I think it could be something fresh and exciting. My second idea for Boston is to fill the long dead hole that DC left in trying to make it the more intellectual franchise, as Boston is like the intellectual city with Harvard, MIT, Boston University, Emerson, Boston College, so on and so forth. There's just a lot of brains in the city. I know I really enjoyed that aspect of DC, and I know other people did too, so I think they could have a unique angle if they went in this direction. I also like people flexing their degrees a la Dr. Wendy, so I think this could be a fun avenue. And last, they have the coastal grandma, old money type of thing that's been hot on TikTok the past couple of years, like going for a Kennedy type of thing. I don't know how realistic this is, as you always hear that these blue blood type of people don't want to be associated with a reality show, but I don't know, fame is a hell of a drug, and I'm sure there's enough people out there that want it. Let me know if you can think of any other angle for a Boston franchise and what could be some of those stylistic touches, like what would they hold, what would be the scoring, all of that kind of stuff. And my last option for an obvious city is another Texas installment. Like it or not, Texas is one of the most iconic American states, so I think it's only right that they have a franchise. There has been some talk about rebooting Dallas, and I'm not opposed, but I'm not going to draft the petition letter myself, if you know what I mean. I think if they were to reboot Dallas, the people I'd expect back would be Dr. Tiffany Moon, Deandra Simmons, and Stephanie Holman. I know some people talk about Cameron Westcott coming back, but I'm not really sure her juice is worth the squeeze. I'm not really looking for Chicken Legs Part 2, if you know what I mean. And a last potential option for another Real Housewife of Dallas could be former Real Housewife of Atlanta one season wonder Claudia Jordan, who, if you aren't up on your Claudia Jordan news, has since moved to Dallas. I actually think I saw her on a flight going from Dallas to Atlanta one time. Very exciting for me because if you watch a lot of my videos, you know that she's one of my favorite one-season wonders. I just really think that she had that it factor. I really enjoyed watching her, so I was really disappointed that we never saw her again. So moving to a Dallas franchise could potentially be an option. So yeah, the door is definitely open for a Miami-style reboot of the Dallas franchise, and I think enough time has elapsed since it was canceled that a lot of the dust that caused it to be canceled has settled a little bit, so I think there's a possibility, but I also think we should consider leaving the door open for other Texan cities. The two that come to mind for me are Houston and Austin. I know Houston has a lot of oil money, so there's definitely a wealth factor there. I know Beyonce's from there, but I'm not sure we'll get Beyonce on Housewives. And the other is Austin, which has a lot of tech companies, which could be a cool angle. It's also a very hipster type of city, so I think that could bring a different vibe and a different zest to the franchise if we got some hipstery type of housewives. But yeah, I've never been to Houston nor Austin, so I want to hear from you if you know a lot more about these cities, like what could be the unique angle with scoring and what they hold and kind of some things that make those cities more specific. All right, but let's move into our next category, which is cities with a unique angle. And let's begin with my number one hope for a franchise ever in the history of time, which is New Orleans. And I know I'm not alone in this. I've heard cries for a New Orleans franchise from many people, so the demand exists. And it's the ultimate unique angle city. From jazz to voodoo to the haunted element to Creole and Cajun culture to Mardi Gras and the debauchery that comes with all of that. There's a lot to work with that you wouldn't find anywhere else. Plus, the architecture in New Orleans is just stunning, and I love all of the swampiness of Louisiana. It's just like my ultimate city. I can just see the B-roll and hear the jazzy score. There's endless options for what they could hold in their tagline lineup, like Mardi Gras beads, beignets, CGI fleur-de-lis. There's so many options. Plus, it's the kind of city that's filled with kooky characters just waiting for Andy and a camera. One of my other favorite reality shows is Big Brother, and on Big Brother 10, which is like the best season ever, there was this woman, Rennie, who was a New Orleans socialite / hairdresser, and she just gave everything I could ever want.
Sticking fingers in people's faces, damn it.
Okay, this is great.
Give me more of that. The next unique angle city I can think of is Nashville, and the unique angle, of course, would be country music. That'd make up the score and the B-roll and all of that. There were rumors a few years ago that Bravo was filming a franchise in Nashville, but obviously nothing came of that. But the idea's been out there for sure. It's not necessarily a franchise that I'm super jonesing for. I'm not a huge country music fan, and for some reason, every time I've gone to Nashville, something bad has happened. So it's just like not my city, but it is a city that has a very unique angle, and one that I think a lot of fans would like. I think it'd be cool to have some country music artists and wives of country music artists and all of that good stuff. Maybe even a daughter of a country music legend. I think that the angle is there, and I think something interesting could happen from a franchise in Nashville where they'd find the right cast. Another potential franchise that has a unique angle that around the time of those Nashville rumors were floating around was also said to be hosting its own Real Housewives franchise was Scottsdale / Phoenix. And I can see the vision for this. Like in their little like Real Housewives logo, they'd have a little cactus in there. I think they could really play around with the heat and all of that. I know Dubai had a little bit of fun with that, so it could be fun to see that translated onto a Phoenix / Scottsdale type of franchise. I've only been to Phoenix once, so I don't have a great feel for the city, but if you do, I'd love to hear your vision of what a franchise in this area could be. I know that there is a lot of wealth in this area, and it seems like there's kind of a lot of crazy people. I know Kelly Dodd is from the area. Whether that bodes well or not, I guess is up to you, but it does bode well for conflict. So let me know if you think a franchise in this area could work. Another option is the San Francisco Bay Area. I think this is somewhere where we could see a lot of LGBTQ representation. It seems like Bravo's not super lacking on that. New York is kind of taking that spot, but it's an option for sure. It also is the tech hub, so we could see how Bravo spins all of that world. And San Francisco is so cute with its cable cars and hills and all of that. One drawback is apparently people aren't super flashy with their wealth there, and you kind of need to be flashy with your wealth to be a Real Housewife. But I don't know, it's not like the whole city needs to participate, and I'm sure there are 5 to 7 flashy, glamorous women that live in San Francisco. If you're from that area, I'd love to hear your vision, like what they could hold, what would be the unique touches, the scoring, all of that good stuff. Another option could be Vegas, and I would like them to kind of dive into that seedy underbelly of Vegas. Like an all that glitters is not gold vibe, kind of like early Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I just like love that trope, so I think that that could be a really interesting spin on the franchise, and maybe you could find some really intense people in this area. If you're from this area or have spent a lot of time in Vegas, let me know what your vision could be of how it could kind of be brought to life. So staying out west, I think there's also space for a Colorado franchise. Denver's the obvious choice, of course, but I think Vail or Aspen could also be options. We've seen through people like Kyle Richards and Ramona Singer that this is the place that the uber elite love to go and ski and all of that. So I think a franchise in Vail or Aspen could be really, really great. I would kind of lean towards Aspen, as we've seen this aesthetic emerge whenever the Real Housewives go and visit Aspen, that it's all this like glam cowboy kind of outfits that they're wearing. So I think it could be fun to see a cast full of those women. One question I have is this a city where people live full time, or is it more of just second, third, fourth, seventh if you're Camille Grammer when she's married to Kelsey type of place? Aside from that, I kind of view Colorado as like a more hippie-ish stoner type of place and a little bit more outdoorsy. Hippie, stoner, outdoorsy doesn't really scream Real Housewives to me, but maybe I'm totally off on this. So if you have some other vision beyond just like the Aspen thing or like stoner hippie for a Colorado franchise, let me know how you see it come to life. Another idea is Honolulu or another Hawaiian city. I sadly have never been there, so I can't really paint you a good picture of what a Hawaiian Real Housewife franchise would look like, but I think it could be interesting. And my last idea is another southern city. I know you're probably like, we already have Atlanta, which is a southern city, but as a lifelong ATLian myself, I know that Atlanta is a very different beast versus a lot of the other cities within the Southeast. There are tons of options. You could go for the coastal southern charm type of thing with Savannah or Charleston. You could go for Birmingham, Alabama, Charlotte, North Carolina, Augusta, Georgia, the Triangle area of North Carolina with Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, or potentially Greenville, South Carolina. And I think we get some really fun type of women on a southern city cast. Like, think of what Phaedra or Sutton brought. Like, that whole interaction, I'm obsessed with it. At the season 3 Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion between Phaedra and Nene on whether or not they knew each other growing up.
We didn't go to high school together. No, we didn't. Because she's older than me.
However, just a few years.
Well, we won't go there, but
We can.
Was just delectable. I love the passive aggression between the two, and I think we get a lot of that type of mindset were we to have a southern franchise. All right, but that kind of launches us into our next category, which is franchises built around a really great cast. So obviously, I don't just know of a random group of friends in some random city to build a cast around, but I do have 2 names in mind of women who could potentially have franchises built around them. The first is Janelle Pierzina, who would give us a franchise in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Twin Cities, and Minnesota. Not typically a city I'd really think for housewives, but if Janelle was involved, I think it could work.
Bye-bye, bitches.
If you know Janelle, you know her from Big Brother, which she's appeared on a record 4 times. She was on Big Brother 6, 7, 14, and 22. But a little bit more Housewives adjacent, she was also on season 2 of The Traitors and went on to host Tamra's like 2T spinoff of the Traitors podcast with Tamra for a little bit. So why I think Janelle would be great is, first off, she's kind of just a really telegenic person. She's probably one of the most iconic Big Brother players. Again, she's been on the show more times than anybody else. And maybe that's partly due to her competition prowess. She notably really, really good at the competitions that they would have on that show.
I want HOH again.
But in her past 2 showings, she showed that that's not really her strong suit anymore. More so what I think it is her personality.
Ask him what the world's like. Did Britney Spears have her baby?
She's just one of those people that's incredibly triggering to everyone around her. It was kind of a bit on her first season where there was a group of women who just absolutely hated her guts, but the audience kept voting for her to get certain privileges, to the point of the other women getting increasingly more exasperated and attacking America for liking Janelle.
You know what? If America did honestly pick her, the fans that watch this show are all pieces.
But I don't think America was wrong. Janelle just has that it factor about her. She's very into herself, but like in a really fun way, especially a way that would work as a housewife. She's also drop dead gorgeous and super, super feminine and super glamorous. On her most recent showing, she was wearing Louboutins in the house and doing her makeup routine on the live feed. She just has that girly it factor that I know as a fellow girly girl, I just love to watch. She's also very dramatic. She has feuds with multiple people across the franchise. And as her fight with Miami guest star Bo Beasley proved, she really has a way of words in her fights. And she not only has the glam factor, but she also has a career as a real estate agent, meaning she's got a lot of money to spend. I don't know if she has friends or frenemies that could potentially work on the show. I only know of Janelle. But I think if I were in charge of scoping out new possible franchises, I'd really look and see what's around, because I really think that Janelle has the it factor. And she's also confirmed she's interested in the gig, and Janelle is good at getting what she wants. My second idea is maybe a little less dramatic, but just as fun, and it's to have an Orlando franchise cast around the Queen of Versailles, Jackie Siegel. So if you don't know Jackie Siegel, she's most known from the documentary The Queen of Versailles. It also became a kind of spin-off, like, house renovation, I believe, show. But the documentary was about her and her husband, who owns the Westgate, like, it's like a timeshare kind of a situation, like a bunch of hotels and resorts and stuff that he built. But it was about them trying to build what would become the biggest house in America in Orlando that was modeled after Versailles and like really ornate and opulent and a little tacky. But while the documentary was filming, the 2008 recession happened, totally like jutting the plans, and his business went not under, but like seriously suffered due to the financial crisis. It's my favorite documentary of all time. It's absolutely amazing. Maybe you'll see a video on it one day. but one of the great things to come from it was introducing Jackie Siegel to the world. This woman is a total joy to have on camera. If you're not familiar with Jackie, I think a good comparison is Kathy Hilton in how rich she is, of course, but also in how kind of goofy and kooky and also out of touch she is.
Just think of the bright side. You might not have to clean this house.
The only problem with Jackie is I really can't see her heading a franchise. Based on what she showed in the documentary, as well as her social media presence, of which I very closely follow, she doesn't really seem to have the coherence nor the leadership qualities needed to head a franchise. I would see her more in a Sonia type of role, where she's the comedic relief and somebody we all love and want to root for, but I don't see her leading the pack. I'm sure she'd still get involved in drama. Based on the documentary, she had a lot of ridiculous things to say that I'm sure would cause offense to somebody on the cast, but I think they'd need a stronger personality to really get this franchise in line. But I do think an Orlando franchise could be interesting, but one question mark I'd have was the Disney of it all. Disney obviously fuels Orlando. I think everybody watching probably knows, but that's where Disney World is, as well as other theme parks such as Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, SeaWorld, all of that kind of stuff. So because of that, it's a big tourist city. But I know a lot of people do live in Orlando. I know it has a really sprawling metro. So despite a lot of tourists visiting, there's a lot of people that do live there. But the only thing is, I'm not sure how much Disney would allow its presence to be felt on the franchise. And without Disney, I think an Orlando franchise is going to feel lacking. I've spent a lot of time in Orlando, but I don't have a good grasp on what like the people that live there's culture is. So if you have a better sense of what an Orlando franchise could look like, let me know. Because again, I really think there's something special with Jackie, and she very much wants to be a housewife. So let me know if you think this could potentially work. You know what? Come to think of it, I do know of a group of women who all live in a city that doesn't have a Real Housewife franchise. They have proven track records. They all used to live in another city and all migrated down to West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, Southern Florida.
Hi. What? Surprise!
Yeah, I know that people really miss the New York OGs, but a lot of them don't even really live in New York anymore. So I think if Bravo wanted to salvage something with the OGs of Roni while still keeping the rebooted version, they could try for a Real Housewives of South Florida type of situation, as Jill lives in Boca, Sonia moved down to West Palm Beach, Ramona lives in either West Palm Beach or Palm Beach. As Tinsley noted, they are very different. Luann, I don't know if she lives there, but she's down there all the time. I think they could potentially try and make it work if they wanted to. I know there's some baggage with certain members of those casts. Not all of them maybe are on the best terms with Bravo, but I think that there is a potential in trying to rework something with that kind of and stay in that area versus trying to remake the Roni OG cast in New York. I think maybe that ship has sailed, but maybe Sonia's West Palm Beach yacht could be coming in. Just an idea. But let's end out on a bonus category, which was brought to us by Dubai.
Fired!
Which is discussing some potential international cities. Of course, we already discussed some of the non-Bravo produced ones. Again, get Surfshark and then watch on Hey You. But with Bravo producing the Dubai franchise, it does open the door to Bravo potentially producing other international variations. A bit of an issue with this is that it pretty much has to be in an English-speaking country. Or I guess it could focus on expats like Dubai did, but I don't know that worked so well. An obvious option is to go to Canada. 2 Canadian franchises have come and gone in Toronto and Vancouver. I actually have a full video on the absolutely insane Vancouver franchise, so check that out if you want. It's one of my favorites. So moral of the story is that it has been tried, but I think it could be interesting to try again. I actually remember a few months ago there were rumors swirling that a Toronto franchise was trying again. So we'll see if anything ever comes of that. But outside of North America, I think a Dublin franchise could be fantastic. Irish women are known to be beautiful, funny, and smart. So the UK also has been oddly lacking in the Real Housewives universe. There is still the British Real Housewives of Cheshire, and Bravo had produced Ladies of London with Caroline Stanbury from Dubai, which was essentially a Real Housewives series. But it has been announced that Hey You is producing a Real Housewives of London, so we'll see that later, but it won't be produced by Bravo. Australia seems to kind of do its own thing. There was what was probably the most similar to the American series Real Housewives of Melbourne, but that seems all but shelved after a lackluster 5th season. But they have rebooted Sydney, and there were rumors that a Gold Coast franchise was happening, so I don't know. But it doesn't seem like a great solution for Bravo itself. Aside from that, let me know where you think would be good. But this is definitely a category I'd love to hear from you guys on. You might have more knowledge on what cities could make for a really great Real Housewives. But I do want to touch on one slight pause I have with the idea of creating an all-new franchise, which is that a lot of the newer shows haven't done particularly well. I think the most obvious example of this is Dubai, which has already been canceled or put on pause. Fans just didn't really seem to gel with it. We see kind of similar issues with the Roni reboot, which will be a full video coming to you soon. So that about taps me out for ideas on potential new cities for Real Housewife franchises. So let me know if you think there's any city I missed and how you would envision it happening. Like, what would they hold in their intro? What could be the scoring? What would be unique about the city? I love speculating on this kind of stuff, and if you do too, I'd love to read all of your thoughts. I'm sure others would as well. So yeah, thanks for watching. And I just wanted to acknowledge this different type of video. If you don't care, I'll see you in the next video. Bye. But I know there probably are some people that are curious with what's happening. So a lot of my videos kept getting copyright claimed, and I just didn't like the look of having the thumbnail with just a voiceover. So I figured the best solution was just to put myself on camera. That way they can't copyright me. I also just want to let you know that I'm going to start expanding my channel beyond just Real Housewives and beyond just unscripted television. You see, sometimes I have long gaps in posting. I love the Real Housewives, but I don't live for it the way that a lot of, I think, Bravo content creators do, but I do live for media, and I love media analysis. But I absolutely love making these videos, and when I'm watching other content, sometimes I'm like, I want to talk about this on my channel. So I'm going to start doing that. So I just wanted to let you know that that would be happening, but I'm not going to abandon Housewives. My next videos will still be about Housewives, and I'll keep doing videos about Housewives forever. But I just wanted to let you know that that would be happening. And yeah, here's to changes on the Deeply Superficial channel for 2025. Alright, but I'm already editing my next video, so I will see you in really not that long. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, like it, share it, all that good stuff. I have a Patreon, I have a Buy Me a Coffee, I have all of that down below. Also, don't forget, sign up for Surfshark, 4 extra months free. What a deal. Thank you again to Surfshark for sponsoring my video. Alright, so I'll see you in the next one. Bye!